it's not so much the tool as when it's going to be used. And for instance, you know, using a vibrator on your wife after she came isn't going to really have a whole lot of fucking impact. You know, it's, you know, so it's a timing thing. So if you have muscles that are supposed to be tight before you lift, then obviously you don't want to make them loose. So you don't want to make them loose by
Get the fuck up. Simon says, get the fuck up. Throw your hands in the sky.
Okay, this question is about body tempering and foam rolling. What is my take on those? Honestly, I can't really speak about the body tempering because I've never done it. I've never had it done. I do have somebody bringing me a giant piece of steel to be able to try it. Off the top of my head, some things that I think about it, given the warnings that Donnie's already put out there many times, like don't roll over your kneecap, you know, don't roll over bones, that kind of stuff, which to me is just common sense, is the biggest difference is with the foam rolling, your body is obviously going over the roller. With the body tempering, the roller is going over the body. So there's definitely a different stimulus as far as how it's being applied. If the effect is any different, I don't know. So I don't personally know how it's going to work. All I know is what other people have said, and it's about 50-50. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people don't like it just because they got to haul this big ass thing up, put them on their body. The foam rolling, it kind of gets bashed, and it's got reason to be bashed, and then it's praised, and it's got reason to be praised. Any type of recovery tool or is the same way. It's not so much the tool as when it's going to be used. And for instance, you know, using a vibrator on your wife after she came isn't going to really have a whole lot of fucking impact. You know, it's, you know, so it's a timing thing. So if you have muscles that are supposed to be tight before you lift, then obviously you don't want to make them loose. So you don't want to make them loose by stretching, you don't want to make them loose by foam rolling, you don't want to make them loose by anything that could possibly make them loose. You don't want to go have a full body massage and then go do strength training where you're supposed to have the muscles tight, unless you're doing something to make those muscles tight. When it comes to that type of recovery, if it's foam rolling massage, I like any type of restoration or recovery tool that's passive, which means you just lay there and the tool or somebody else does all the work. That requires less effort on your part. It allows you to relax more and allows for the stimulus to have a better recovery effect. Now, with that in mind, looking at the body tempering with the foam rolling, typically with the foam rolling, you have to do some of the work. So if you're trying to work your back or your lats or whatever it is, you're kind of doing hamstring curls every time you roll back and forth. The body tempering, somebody else is rolling the shit on you. You know, so it's going to be more passive. You're going to be able to relax a little bit more. This is taking the actual stimulus out and just saying which is more passive compared to active. Active recovery would be things like an elliptical trainer, walking, you know, things that are going to induce blood supply without a whole lot of lactic acid to help get nutrients throughout your system to help you to recover better. I'm a big fan of passive recovery. I'm also a big fan of whatever passive recovery you use, you stay with long enough for whoever's doing the therapy to learn your body very well. I'm not a big fan of jumping from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. Because at that time, the therapist or trainer or whoever you're seeing doesn't find patterns. And they will be able to find patterns over an extended period of time, which brings up in itself its own issue. Its own issue becomes then if you're using something all the time without any breaks for recovery, your body will adapt and become accustomed to that becoming part of the training stimulus and begin to not have the recovery effect from it because it's become accustomed to it. So whenever you can, if it's off season, you're not training for a meet, it's during the holidays and the training gets screwed up a little bit more, there might be more sessions missed than otherwise. I often suggest that people pull off of the active or off the passive recovery or even the active recovery as well. Pull off of it so their body can, I guess, less adapt, de-adapt, become not accustomed to always having that there. So when it's reintroduced, it will begin to start to have the recovery effects that it had to begin with. The second part of this question speaks about, what's the best prehab and rehab? Well, there's a difference between prehab and rehab. Rehab is after something's already been fucked up and you have, in my opinion, a professional who's helping you with the rehabilitation. So that professional helping you with rehabilitation, and it's taken me a long time to come to terms with this. Not all physical therapists are stupid, not all chiropractors are stupid, and not all orthopedic surgeons are stupid. Actually, the majority of them know what the fuck they're doing. I find it best to keep a team of, a holistic doctor, or one at least who knows holistic medicine with regular MD, some type of physical therapist, and now because I'm older and my bones are all fucked up, an orthopedic, to kind of have all three of those. I don't want to say they have sit-down meetings and networking because you're the one that has to take responsibility for that. I got a zip folder I carry around with me that's got notes from every single one of them. So whenever I see one, it's like, here's the notes from the physical therapist, here's the notes from the doctor, here's what I've been doing training-wise. So they're kind of all on par with what's going on. And when they can all know and be able to provide feedback that you can then disseminate, you're able to be able to train and move forward in a healthier state than if you didn't. And this is if you're in the position that I'm in, that you just beat the fuck. And there are things that are just not going to get better. And the goal is to make sure they don't get worse. That's where having a team of people helps tremendously. Because the one thing that you will find is when you're dealing with professionals, really in any profession, everybody knows all the answers. Everybody. Oh, I don't buy into that bullshit just as much as you're not going to buy into that bullshit. So I use three different people, three different professions that are kind of in the same genre, but not really. And then find that compromise and see if I can get them to find that compromise, because within that compromise is where the answers are going to be. As far as the prehab goes, that kind of stems with the body tempering and the foam rolling that I spoke about before, except extends out to more than just those modalities. There's a ton of different things that you could do from a therapy standpoint, more than I could even go into in an hour video, from stim units, ultrasound, ART, MAT, foam rolling, band distraction. The most important thing with that is to fall back on what I said at the very beginning, is find something and stick with it so the person can learn the patterns. I've been seeing the same muscle activation therapist for over 2.5 years now. He can now tell when something begins to break down. I'll see him tomorrow. So if I go in tomorrow and something begins to break down in a certain area, he knows now, okay, 2 weeks from now, if we don't fix this, 2 weeks from now, your feet are going to start to flare up again with the plantar fasciitis. So what do you want to do? Do you want to work on the bicep tendonitis that just started, or do you want to go back and work on this hip issue, which we know 2 weeks from now is going to lead to this issue here because we've already seen it happen 8 or 9 times in the past? Well, at that point in time, I'm like, fuck the bicep. Let's work on this because I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. And then that following week, everything's in check, then we get back to whatever that other issue is. That would be impossible to do if you're seeing different people all the time. So somebody has to kind of learn your body and to learn what patterns follow and how your training impacts those patterns to be able to know how to move forward in the most progressive and best way for you. You know, the best specific thing for a beginner or a novice to do is just something like, Dave, you got like 6 weeks of glycogen in your system right now. You know that, so I kind of knew it was going to be a long